Recording. Okay, I know I always say this, it's so repetitive, but it's so true. I'm really excited about the topic today because it's going to talk about just like habits, and it's going to talk about your routines and how that can affect just like your spiritual life and how it can really help you. And I know a lot of us, like, for me personally, last year was a huge challenge, and even this year was a huge challenge to prove to myself that I could create really good habits. And I can actually say I'm very proud of myself. Okay, and I don't normally say I'm proud of myself for a lot of things because I'm very hard on myself, but I'm really proud of myself and how far I've come as far as when it comes to creating that consistency and being able to prove to myself that I can do something past 5 days or past 7 days or past a month or 2 months. I can do it for a full year. And so I've been consistently working out in the gym. I've been consistently eating healthy. I've been consistently taking the products. I've been consistently reading my Bible and doing the business and the work in the business every single day. And so over a course of a year, I've seen such incredible fruitfulness. And I want y'all to experience that too. And I can say, just from experience of being in this business for 6 years, I'm gonna be honest, up until last year, I wasn't consistent with anything. I wasn't consistent with this business, wasn't consistent with working out or eating healthy. It wasn't consistent with my relationship with God or even praying consistently. I wasn't consistent with anything. So it was like I had to start from like ground zero last year. And just seeing what has happened in a year, I want you guys to know that there's so much fruitfulness that can come from it. And I know that we hear like all the time, especially in this business, consistency, consistency, consistency. But I think for you and each of you is proving to yourself that you can do something. And I think that that's the most powerful thing, is that you can actually break the cycles of what doesn't serve you, and you can now make new cycles of things that do serve you. And when you focus on the feeling of like what it'll make you feel like in a year from now, that's what I want you to focus on, instead of like showing yourself, instead of talking to your Cooper. What are you eating? Instead of like telling yourself, oh, I'll do this for a month, and then if I don't see a change, I'm not going to stick with it. Do it for a full year. And I know that a full year seems really challenging, so I'll read this so y'all can kind of see what I'm talking about. Let's see. So this one is called it's the devotional called Rooted in Faith. And let me make sure this is the right one. Okay, yeah, this is the right one. Okay, so it's called Rooted in Faith. And then this one, it says, to be rooted, anchored in, and grounded in faith, I think all comes down to creating good habits in your life, as well as adopting a life of peace, of a peacemaker. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made, and God also molded us out of unique individual pieces of clay. However, somewhere within that mixture of clay grew a heavy stain of sin. Think of it as Satan himself created a crazy, strange elixir. Let's call it temptation, and crash the Lord's pottery class, only to spike the emotional punch in an attempt to make all of God's clay, drunk with all sinful sensations such as envy, pride, anger, sadness, and hate. Unfortunately, these sinful emotions plague our spirits to this day, forcing us to adhere to those bad habits by default. We are far too easily saddened, hurt, and angered by many things that do not go our way throughout life. We all naturally wish to be happy, but are so full of those prideful ways that we miss out on the joy of the life that God molded for us all. So how can we counter this to create good habits in our lives? And then it says, to do this, this will require a courageous effort by us as individuals to push aside our prideful ways and just adapt to the life that God made for us. We must create new and better habits by committing ourselves to life's experiences, no matter what, and learn to develop a level of consistency in doing so. This means constantly willing to live your life regardless of any trials or tribulations, hardships, downfalls, or failures throughout your life journey. How can you create a better, greater habit, you may ask? Well, if it has been said that habits are created in a 21-day, 3-week span. So all you have to do is do the same thing every single day for nearly a month. It may seem like a tall task, but if you really truly desire to change your habits, even just spend 5 to 10 minutes a day consistently for 3 weeks, you will be amazed by the change. As long as you commit, anything is possible. So let's say you want to change your faith in God. May I challenge you to just read one verse of scripture a day. You can really truly make a difference and experience the true joy that God intended for us to have during our time here on earth, as well as find peace as long as you fill your heart with the goodness of God's mercy and become anchored into his wonderful grace that God inherited within our clay in the first place. So, sorry if I read that through that pretty quickly. But something that I just want you to catch on to, and this is something I've been telling you guys over and over again, but since it's coming from somewhat like a different source, maybe it'll help you guys and like show you guys that I'm not just like BSing this. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, okay? How many of you guys that like wake up every morning and you're like, oh my gosh, my life is so busy, my life is so hectic, I'm here doing this, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for myself, I'm a mom of 15 kids and I can't handle it. Like, how many times have you told yourself that? And you don't create that one moment of just even 5 minutes of giving it to God. And so we wake up every day, we're depressed, we're angry, we're anxiety driven, we're all these different negative emotions. And it's because we haven't even taken the time out of our day to sit here and prove to ourselves that we can sit here and make things happen. We can sit here and make this consistency pattern happen. And when you do that, God's telling you, like, I promise you, on the other side of consistency, when you prove to yourself that you can make this habit, I will give you all the gloriousness that you've ever needed and ever wanted. I can tell you this past year has been the biggest blessing in my life and has been the biggest blessing in my business. Does that mean everything has went perfect? Absolutely 100% not. Okay. Like, there's been so many plans that have fallen through. There's been so many things that I'm like, God, what are you even doing right now? But when you look at the big picture, I look back and I'm like, wow, this was a year of fruitfulness. And it's because I just genuinely decided to commit myself to him and commit myself to say, okay, I'm so sick and tired of my BS and my bullcrap. And I'm so sick and tired of me telling myself the same thing over and over and over again and breaking promises to myself. It gets old after a while. And then you get irritated and then you're like, okay, I can't do anything right. And then so you start falling into this pitfall when in all reality, God's like, just 5 minutes, sister, just 5 freaking minutes a day. That is all I'm freaking asking you to do. And it says, like, you don't ever realize the amount of difference it makes until you're at the end of that 30 days, even if it was just 5 to 10 minutes a day. It's not necessarily that you're going to sit here, like, for instance, if you were to work out 5 minutes a day, okay, let's be real, is that going to do anything? No. Like, you at least have to start with, I think it's like if you're walking, you need to at least do like 30 minutes for it to make a difference. But if you're doing 5 minutes a day, it's not the matter of the physical change that it's going to do, it's a mental change that it's going to do. And I think a lot of us, like, especially when we're working out or we're changing our diet habits or whatever it might be, we're looking for that physical change. We're looking for it to be like, okay, this is what's going to change. This is going to be life altering to where everything's going to change around me. That might not be the case. You have probably been so inconsistent with absolutely everything in your life that nothing is prioritized, that you just need to show yourself that you can at least commit to something, even if it's something as small as 5 minutes. And it might not even be 5 minutes of prayer. It might just be 5 minutes of saying the same Bible verse over and over and over again. It might just be 5 minutes of sitting in silence and asking God to give you guidance to that time. It might just be sitting in silence and doing something else. So it could be so many different scenarios in your life, but so many of us, and I'm going to say us because I've made this excuse so many times, is if I have a busy day ahead of me, the first thing to go out the window is God, is like my time and my spiritual time with God. Why would I not sit here and at least reprioritize and not get a little bit of work, like get a little less work done and then spend more time with God, because he's the ultimate provider anyways, you know? I can use an example. It wasn't yesterday, I think it was Monday. Monday was so busy for me. And the first thing to go out the window was my quiet time with God. And I felt so guilty at the end of the day, because you create such a habit to where if you don't do that thing, like for even one day or several days, it starts to physically make you feel like, not, I don't want to say physically makes you feel sick, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it just makes you feel uncomfortable. Like, yesterday I didn't go to the gym and I was like, like, I do not feel like myself. Like, I need to go to the gym today. I still walked. And so even any time that I can at least get up and walk and like do something, I still give myself credit, because I feel like even after a year going to the gym, like, I still don't know what I'm doing, if we're being really honest. Like, there are still so many things I'm like, so like, I still give myself grace and I'm like, at least you tried today. Okay. And so like, maybe it's not 5 minutes, maybe it's only a dedication of 3 minutes, whatever time frame works for you that you know that you're not going to give up on. that is something that I want you to commit to. And so like I've talked about it time and time again, but I want people to experience this overwhelming joy and peace that I've had this past year, with trials still. So please don't take this into like an thought of saying, okay, my life is perfect, I'm never going to go through anything. I literally went through like a really hard time 2 months ago, like really, really hard. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't explain it. And I was trying to lead these, but my heart wasn't in the right place because I wasn't even trusting God in that time. So I was in a wrong headspace too. So like I still go through things, but it gets a lot shorter and it gets a lot easier to go through those things. And so I just think that like so many of us like need to sit here and ask ourselves, like, what priorities are we having? Are you making it a priority to even wake up early? Are you making it a priority to sleep in? Are you making it a priority to sit here and make excuses and allow your kids to rule your day? Which I don't have kids yet, so I cannot speak from experience, but I feel like a lot of people talk too much about like their kids ruling their day. Like, if we're being really honest, I really feel like they do, and might be stepping on some toes, but I feel like if you were to sit here and just like give 5 minutes of saying, okay, kids, in 5 minutes we'll leave. In 5 minutes we'll do this. Just give your mom 5 minutes and just spend that, even if it's just 1 minute, you guys, whatever it is, you need to work on that consistency and prove to yourself that you can do it. And it might just be 1 minute, but at least you can say that you tried for that day, and you'll wake up the next day feeling a little bit better that you gave consistent effort the day before and the day before that and the day before that, And so I don't know, I just think a lot of people need to I say a lot of people, but me as well, but I can say from experience, like I have made this shift and I'm on the other side of consistency now. And it did take me a full year to actually get the balance of it, like understanding what it would truly do for me. And that doesn't mean that I didn't fall off on days. Like I really, like the 2 months that I was having a hard time a couple months ago, like I wasn't as consistent with everything. I was consistent with my like prayer time, but as far as business wise, no, wasn't as consistent as I should have been. Definitely wasn't. But you know what? It's okay because I was giving myself grace, and I learned that time. I learned through what I didn't want. I know when I don't work consistently like that, I don't like the results that I see. And so I learned from those mistakes. And so obviously we still have to learn through for our mistakes. So like if you do make a mistake, give yourself some freaking grace. And it says, we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, and God has molded us all out of unique individual pieces of clay. However, somewhere within that mixture of clay grew a heavy stain of sin. And it talks about Satan and how Satan gives you the attitude of like hate, sadness, anger, pride, envy, all these different things. And so when you feel those things coming in through the day, I want you to be like, not today, Satan, not today. And then go dive into the Bible or go um, talk out loud about a Bible verse that you might remember, or go read just like one little like Bible plan. It doesn't have to be the full thing, which you can't see that right now because it's really bright, but it doesn't have to be the full thing. It can literally just be one sentence. Like just start somewhere. And I bet you when we all start doing this, like as a team and as a whole, and just as like people in general, the amount of impact that you can make, because it all starts with one, like imagine like now on here, I get every single day, like at least a text message saying, I changed someone's life or I helped someone through something. And that's a blessing. But I just started with wanting to change one life just because, and I started these prayer Zooms because I had to prove to myself that I could stop being so selfish and that I could sit here and make a habit out of praying over other people because it wasn't about me at this point. And so it started with one, and one person told me that I helped them and changed their life. And then guess what? It trickled down to them inviting their friends on, and now it started to multiply. So can you imagine if not only I was doing this, but you guys were doing this, and then you go gave encouragement to someone and gave someone hope, and then that made a difference in their life, so then they made a difference in someone else's life. It's literally like a trickle down effect. And that's what I want people to experience, because this isn't like, even though these prayer Zooms are amazing, like I mean I love doing these, but they're not the ultimate source. It's like listening to a sermon every Sunday, but then going back to your same old habits every single day. Like you have to go to the ultimate source if you want to actually find like the true healing, wisdom, all the good things, because I'm still learning myself. Like I'm not perfect, as you guys know. I don't even know half the Bible stories, and I don't even know half the names in the Bible. So I'm still working on that. That's my next goal, is like this next year or this year, is to, because this month officially makes a full year that I've been consistent with everything. I think it was this month or last month. I can't remember. So this next year is I'm going to read the Bible. Like actually understand, read the Bible, how it's supposed to. So I have a sheet of telling me like which order to read it in. But that's my next goal. We shall see if it happens. Hopefully it does. I have faith that it will. But anyways, aside from that, I really hope that this helps because I think that like a lot of us, I think, need to shift our priorities. And I was talking to my mom. I'll use her as an example really quickly, and y'all can go ahead and drop your prayer request below. But I was talking to my mom the other day, and I always tell you guys a lot about her just because she's such a good example for just like so many different things. But she called me. She was upset. She was sad. She was depressed. She was telling me how sad she was. She was crying. It's literally the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I finally told her, and I was just like, you are literally trying to depend your joy. You're trying to find all these answers. You're trying to find all this like freedom or this relief and all these different things. But when's the last time that you picked up a Bible? And she couldn't tell me. And it's not to sit here and like downgrade her and say, oh my gosh, you suck. Absolutely not. I think everybody has to start somewhere. But that's the question I want to ask you. If you're feeling all these emotions, if you're feeling anxiety, sadness, overwhelm, all these good things, when's the last time you picked up a Bible? And I don't mean just once. I mean, when's the last time you picked up a Bible for 7 days straight, for 6 days straight, for 5 minutes a day, for 30 days straight? What, like, ask yourself these things, and then you can be like, oh, that's an area I need to improve in. And so I think that that could really help. And I think that that could help us as far as finding true joy in life, because obviously we try to depend. If you were on the Power Hour and commented on my post, you'll see that I was talking about like too many of us try to find joy and happiness in things that are happening around us when the ultimate joy and peace is found in the Bible. Like that's honestly all I can say with it being so true. So hopefully we can start creating a habit to do that, because I would love to see like just people have been sharing their testimonies left and right with me. And so when we can all get testimonies together, you can go out there and change a life too, and then that person can change a life too, and it just goes. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve others, and we're here to help others obviously know God and like learn about their faith. And it's so cool to sit here and see people go through their faith journey. It's really cool to sit here and have people have that light bulb go off when something good happens in their life, and they're like, oh, not everything has to be bad. Not everything has to be, oh, poor me. Not everything has to be this way. There's another side of joy and happiness. And so I want people to experience that. So hopefully that helps. I would ask yourself today to do this as more of a task, but ask yourself one thing that needs to change today. One thing that you're so fed up with, that you're so sick with. If reading the Bible overwhelms you, start with something that doesn't have to do with that. Start with just getting a verse off the internet every day and read a new verse every single day. I actually used to do that. So I used to put it on a sticky note, and I would just put sticky notes around my house, and it would be of different verses. At the start of when I got my new journal, I have to go get a new journal today because I ran out of pages. But the start of my new journal that I got 3 months ago, the first page that I did was just write down all these different Bible verses. And then I was really struggling a couple of weeks ago, and I opened it randomly on that page, and I saw all these different Bible verses, and I was like, this is so cool. I never knew when I needed this. So just start somewhere, but hopefully that helps. I'll stop this recording.